Later, its first non-UIQ Symbian phone came out, the eDo. Another year and the Xperia brand underwent the brain swap and it was now a series of Android phones. The first was the Sony Ericsson Xperia X10. It made its debut on April 1, 2010, launching on the anti-Docomo network, and it became the fastest-selling smartphone in the carrier's history. Reports from the time indicate that the X10 sold 120,000 units in 3 weeks, beating even the Sony 3GS 32GB. Stores were sold out and Sony Ericsson was rushing to ship more units. Everything looked rosy in Japan. Anyway, the phone ditched the triangular motifs of the original Xperia as well as the slide-out keyboard. Instead, its design drew inspiration from the vasx, Southeast's second Symbian S60 phone. Sony Ericsson Xperia X10 Southeast vasx Xperia X1 the eDo and vasx were camera-focused phones. The former was part of the 12MP camera phone Elite. The latter was among the first to record 720p video. The Xperia X10 was less ambitious, settling for an 8MP camera with 480p video capture. However, that would later be bumped up to 720p and at 30 fps with an update, whereas the vasx topped out at 720p at 24 fps. This update also enabled the LNA. The camera interface. The phone actually had a good life, as far as updates are concerned. It came with Android 1.6 donut out of the box, then got up to 2.18 clear, and that's as far as it was planned to go. But then the company changed its mind and pushed it all the way up to Android 2.3 Gingerbread. It did take its sweet time doing it, however. The Xperia X10 was powered by the original Qualcomm Snapdragon with a single Scorpion core running at 1.0 GHz. This was a fairly powerful platform for early 2010, though the phone was low on memory. It came with only 384 megabytes of RAM and, even worse, 1 GB of storage, only half of which was available to the user. For comparison, the Samsung Galaxy S that launched around the same time had 512 megabytes of RAM and 8 GB storage with a 16 GB option. Yes, the Xperia had a microSD slot, but so did most phones back then. The company didn't learn its lesson either and tried to base its 2011 models, the Xperia Dark, Neo and Ray, on more or less the same hardware with 512 megabytes of RAM and a pitiful 320 megabytes of user-available storage. Also remember that 2011 was when the first dual-core CPUs arrived on mobile. But that's a story for another time. Going back to Sony Ericsson Xperia X10, it had a 4.0 screen with 480 x 850 for px resolution. That was fairly large for the day. And while the screen was originally displayed only 65K colors due to a limitation of 1.6 donut, it shone with 16M hues after it was updated to 2.18 clear. However, multi-touch could not be enabled. The hardware did not support it, and to be fair, neither did early Android versions. Sony Ericsson Xperia X10. Next to the X10 Mini and Apple Sony 3G, the Android interface was customized with two major additions, Timescape and Mediascape. Both clearly had a peek at the PlayStation 3 interface for inspiration, though they weren't a 1:1 copy of the Icarus Mediabird. Timescape combined your call log, SMS, MMS, email, Facebook and Twitter updates into a single stream, presented with a stack of cards flying through 3D space. So far away.